Community. Town Square Media South Jersey proudly puts a spotlight on local businesses.
Piccalilli Inn. Visit them on Facebook or at piccalilli.com for their pick specials. Nobody beats the Piccalilli. Route 206 in Shamong. Storybook Land. Create your own story at Storybook Land. Manhattan Bagel. Looking for a quick snack or a full meal? Easy to use menu. Customize how you'd like. Place your order and sit back. ManhattanBagel.com has you covered. Start fresh, fast, order online for pickup and delivery. Apex East Roofing. Get a price on your roof in 30 seconds at ApexEastRoofing.com. And Dennis Mill Fence. When you want experience, go for the best. Fences, railings, outdoor shower enclosures, and more. Request a quote at DennisMillFence.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media South Jersey.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Thank God I'm again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Just in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hinnett.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he's cool!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio. Here's Josh Hennig.
Boy, it's been an interesting football Friday. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on 97.3 ESPN. I'll get to the Eagles injury report, but we also got to get to how Nick Sirianni might have just opened the door for the Eagles to be fired. And I think that Nick Sirianni, he doesn't do himself any favors, right? He is not an individual who cannot put his foot in his mouth. I think that is probably the bigger reason why long-term he may not be the man for this job. But we'll get to that coming up as well this hour. Plus, is there a key element to this Eagles-Cowboys game that we have not talked about? Well, if you were listening to 97.3 ESPN 3 hours ago, you heard a comment from a guest, and we will get to that coming up this hour, plus my Football Friday picks. And we expect to be joined this hour by App Academy High School graduate, undefeated heavyweight Bruce Selden Jr. ahead of his matchup next Saturday night at Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City. But first, before we get to your text messages at 609-403-0973, before we get to the Football Friday picks, before we react to what a crazy game last night. I mean, that hit the over early in the fourth quarter. Holy Toledo, Batman. We got to get to what happened with Nick Sirianni today. So, I understand that there's a lot of people in the national media who are latching on to this now because of how weird of a moment it was. But I got to tell you guys, I've talked to now 3 different Eagles insiders today. Couple of them on the record, couple of them off the record. Okay? Sorry, 2 on the record, 1 off the record. And I'll tell you what they had to say about this in just a moment. But first, for those who didn't hear it. So today, at Nick Sirianni's weekly Friday press conference, which usually comes out roughly about 4 hours before the Eagles drop the official injury report, Nick Sirianni had this exchange with Eagles reporter Zach Berman at today's press conference. Take a listen.
We haven't really seen Jalen be held back for load management before. What was behind that on Wednesday?
Yeah, he's dealing with it was on the injury report, dealing with the ankle, and just making sure we're precautious with everything.
What's wrong with the ankle? He wasn't on. I'm sorry, Jalen Hurts. It was an ankle?
What's that?
It was the rest.
That was the rest, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
I thought you were talking about something else. All right.
Is Jalen dealing with an ankle problem?
Now rest.
So apparently, for whatever reason, the Philadelphia Eagles wanted to keep it a secret that Jalen Hurts apparently has some sort of ankle issue. Okay, and I'm purposely going to call it an issue because we don't know all the details. And from my experience, when you use the word injury, people can interpret it a variety of ways, okay? So I am going to use the term he has an ankle issue. And if you go back and watch the Eagles game on Sunday, there was a play where he kind of got his ankle turned. He got up and he grimaced. And they even made slight mention on the broadcast, oh, Hurts is grimacing after that play. And I got to tell you guys, I think that's what the deal is. But for whatever reason, the Eagles treat injuries like this is national security secrets and that they have to classify every single bit of information they possibly can. And so now, because Nick Sirianni, who obviously doesn't read the injury reports, he only knows and says what he's told by the PR department, he lets it slip that Jalen Hurts has an ankle issue, which, one, is something to keep an eye on because as we go into this game in Dallas, who returns from injury this week? Well, I wrote about it at 97.3 ESPN.com. If you get 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle, you would have seen my article that Micah Parsons is returning this Sunday. If Micah Parsons is back on the field, you better hope and pray that the man standing across from him the entire game is Lane Johnson. Because even Micah Parsons, not 100%, is still a dangerous man. Micah Parsons is a stud, folks. He's a beast. And you don't want to have that guy coming after your quarterback who's got a not 100% ankle. Again, I'm purposely choosing my words a certain way because I don't want to project any misinformation. But it just goes to show you that, I understand the people who are like, look, Sirianni's reckless. He's an idiot. People are saying that, they view him and his personality and his mentality and all these things as a negative. And I'm not here to tell you guys that your opinion is wrong. But I'm here to tell you, help you understand why he has this job. Lane Johnson on the Gun on One show, which is hosted by the Inside the Birds podcast, talked about why it's so important that Sirianni comes to the players and says, what do you guys think? What do you guys want, right? He has a players' council who have a say every single week in what happens with this team on the field, off the field, on game day, in practice.
Sirianni does a good job of, we have like a leadership council, so it doesn't have to be captains, but people that he sees as being of heavy influence of the team. And man, we communicate, really every Friday. We discuss how the week's gone, anything we can do with the schedule, anything we want to bring up and to discuss, which, I've been in the NFL for a long time, and some teams, they don't work like that.
It's not that Sirianni is perfect. And when you guys, and listen, I love you Eagle fans, okay? You're some of the most passionate people I've ever met, all right? When you guys text in at 609-403-0973, when you at me at Josh Henning on the Twitter X platform, when you meet me this Sunday at our Eagles watch party at Dole's Poorhouse in Tuckerton, where we're going to be giving away prizes at halftime, when I have these interactions with you guys, because of the passion and the intensity of some of your perspectives, you put me in a position where I have to defend this guy. And I'm not a fan of doing that because, I just mentioned the fact about boxing, right? What is the one thing a fighter hates the most? They hate having to be a defensive fighter. They hate being unable to use their offense to push the pace of the fight. The best fighters, the smart fighters, want to dictate, whether they're a boxer, whether they're a mixed martial arts fighter, whatever it may be. They want to dictate the fight. They want to push the pace. They want to assert their will. They want to engage their opponent. But if their opponent keeps putting them in a position where they cannot engage, where they cannot be as offensive as they want, where they cannot keep moving forward, it's frustrating for them. And so it's not that I love Sirianni, because frankly, when he says stuff like "I just played for you," he just adds another tally to the list of reasons why this guy is just not the right man for this job. But the problem is players like Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, Saquon Barkley. Really, the only guy who's ever said a negative thing about Sirianni is Jalen Hurts, and that depends on your perspective of how Jalen Hurts speaks. Because in my opinion, Jalen Hurts speaks like a nothing. He doesn't really say anything half the time. But the players like this guy. The players believe in this guy. The players support this guy. It's the people who are outside of the building who have negative things to say about the guy. It's the opposite of Chip Kelly. It's the opposite of Carson Wentz. Most of the criticism of Chip Kelly and Carson Wentz was from within the Eagles building. Sirianni's the opposite. Most of the criticism is from outside the building. So that's where, at least for me, I draw the line. Now, back to the game this Sunday, it's the guy not named Nick Sirianni who is going to potentially have the biggest impact on this game. Jesse Holley is the co-host of the Believe in Cowboys podcast. He was a guest on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. He dropped this nugget with Mike. And I got to tell you guys, this has now become one of my keys to the game this Sunday when the Eagles play the Cowboys in Dallas. Mel Reese and Mike Quick on the call at 4 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. Former Cowboys wide receiver Jesse Holley, not Nick Sirianni, he mentioned another coach he's keeping an eye on this Sunday.
Kellen Moore is going to want to get some get back on this Dallas Cowboys team. And the thing that I think is truly important, that they're going to come out and be ultra aggressive and try to put this game away early. Philadelphia has a game against the number one team in the division in 4 days. They play a Thursday game against the Commanders. So I think they're going to be looking to come in and attack the Cowboys, embarrass them at home, but be able to pull those starters out in the third and fourth quarter to rest them up for that big Thursday night game they have for the division lead.
Kellen Moore is my first key to the Eagles-Cowboys game. The Kellen Moore rematch with the Cowboys is a fascinating conversation. We had this conversation in the offseason, but because of Nick Sirianni's antics and because of all the questions about Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' pass rush and all those other topics this year, we have forgotten about the Kellen Moore storyline. For those who don't remember, let me refresh your memory. Kellen Moore was a backup quarterback with the Cowboys. He retired, became their quarterback coach, and was soon thereafter elevated to offensive coordinator. 3 of the 4 years, Kellen Moore was the OC of the Dallas Cowboys. They were top 5 in offense, scoring, total yards, points per game, touchdown to interception ratio, efficiency, pace of play. And the 1 year they were not top 5 in those categories was when Dak Prescott got injured and John Kitna was his quarterback. And for those of you who don't remember, John Kitna was the pure definition of mediocre in the NFL. So, probably below average by the time that he was starting for the Cowboys. But I digress. Kellen Moore had a very successful run with the Dallas Cowboys. But then one day, Mike McCarthy wanted to take back play calling responsibilities. But Kellen Moore was the wonder boy. Kellen Moore was the prodigy. Kellen Moore was the guy when it came to that. But Mike McCarthy didn't want Kellen Moore calling the plays, running the offense anymore. He wanted to do it. So the Cowboys found a way to part ways with a very successful OC. 2 years later, the Dallas Cowboys have a losing record. Dak Prescott is injured again. They have basically the worst running back core in all of the NFL. And now, Kellen Moore gets to ride in the Dallas with a team that is averaging 28 points per game in their last 4 games. An Eagles team that has found their groove. Their running game is on point. Their passing game is dynamic. And they're going against the Cowboys defense that has the second worst scoring defense in the NFL. There is literally only one team worse than Dallas this year. You don't think Kellen Moore, as Jesse Holley pointed out, is looking to stick it to his former bosses and say, you let me go. You let me walk out that door. And now I'm coming back to show you. And you don't think Kellen Moore, whether he wants to admit it publicly or not, doesn't deep down inside of him, the competitor that he is, the former Boise State quarterback who had one of the greatest winning percentages of all college football history. The man is a competitor, right? You don't think he looks across the sideline and say, I want to beat these guys. He doesn't call them guys. I want to beat these guys. Something like 40-10. Something to think about going into the game. This Sunday, coverage begins at 3 p.m. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick call all the action starting at 4 here in your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. Of course, I'll be hosting our Eagles watch party this Sunday at Doyle's Poorhouse in Tuckerton, where we will be giving away a plethora of prizes. Among those prizes are Disney on Ice VIP passes. I will also have a special Eagles football commemorating the 2022 Eagles season. We will also have tickets for next Saturday's boxing event of the holiday season at Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City. Only a couple tickets, though. I don't have a bunch of tickets. I only have a couple. So you better get out there if you want to win those tickets with not one, not two, but 3 undefeated boxers from the South Jersey area, all in action. Atlantic City's Justin Figueroa, Absegami High School graduate Bruce Selden Jr., and Pleasantville's Cisco kid Francisco Rodriguez, all in action, along with some of the top fighters in all of boxing. It is the up-and-coming fighter showcase of the year. Saturday, November 16th at Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City. I will have a couple of tickets to give away this Sunday at our Eagles watch party at Doyle's Poorhouse in Tuckerton. All right, still to come. Football Friday picks, as well as your guys' texts at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. I'm Josh Hennig, hanging out with you on a Friday night.
This is South Jersey's official home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles continue the 2024 season this Sunday in Dallas against their NFC East rival Cowboys.
Then past another, leaps over a third, and cuts down at the 30. What was that?
Listen to all the action with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick with pregame coverage starting at 3 p.m. and kickoff at 4:25. This is the play-by-play home of the Philadelphia Eagles, 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Healthier starts here with Get Covered New Jersey. Get quality, affordable health coverage. 9 in 10 get financial help to lower costs, and many pay $10 a month or less. Enroll at getcovered.nj.gov.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Sounds like wipers. If your wipers are streaking, skipping, chattering, or even worse, loud, you need to visit AutoZone and get some fresh new blades. We've got basic wipers to get you back on the road, as well as premium blades from Bosch and Rain-X. So if you're hearing this, just head to your nearest AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
The holidays are here at the Home Depot, so let's get to decorating. Find your perfect tree in our huge assortment of shapes, sizes, and styles. Like the easy-to-assemble Jackson Noble Fir, with pre-lit branches perfect for styling with all your favorite ornaments. Or the Flock Starry Light Fraser Fir, with over 1,900 pre-lit memory wire branches that keep their shape so it's ready right out of the box.
Ooh.
Find the perfect tree now at the Home Depot.
Home ownership. At Progressive, we know it's part of the American dream. It's sea to shining sea, and water damage as far as the eye can see. It's freshly mowed grass, and a fence that was freshly vandalized by a pack of unruly teens. It's also around-the-clock protection when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, which can help keep the American dream of home ownership alive and kicking. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Jose stands tall atop his sustainable flooring company.
Totally. It's renewable and moisture resistant, but we have several green options too. Or we got some beautiful reclaimed oak.
But floored by his success, he needs to hire more installers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NHL, the Flyers on Saturday will be in Sunrise, taking on the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Philadelphia beat Tampa Bay Thursday night, 2-1 in a shootout that ended a two-game losing skid. Owen Tippett scored in regulation, and he also gave the Flyers the win in the shootout frame. Sixers remaining in Los Angeles tonight as they take on the Lakers. Philadelphia has dropped 4 in a row, losing Wednesday night to the Clippers. Guard Tyrese Maxey out for tonight's game with a hamstring strain. He'll be reevaluated in 1 week. The Lakers, they've lost 4 of their last 5. The Eagles will be in Dallas Sunday to take on the Cowboys, their second divisional game of the season. Philadelphia has won 4 straight. They're 6-2. Dallas is 3-5. They've not won at home all season. And Cooper Rush will be the starting quarterback for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott out with a hamstring injury. Eagles are number 2 in the NFL in rushing. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
When things are just too hard and you need someone to listen, 988 is here. Call, text, or chat 24/7. We are here for you. 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Call 988. A message from New Jersey Human Services.
We're heading into the weekend feeling good because of this great weather, right? Hey, with your South Jersey weather forecast, I'm Joe Kelly. Things are going to get a little chilly tonight. We're going to drop down to about 42 with clear sky. Tomorrow looks sunny, a little cooler than it's been. A high temperature about 59. And the outlook for Sunday, sunshine with a high of 63. As of right now, the next possibility of rain in the forecast is Monday morning. But again, that's just a chance. Probably some cooler temperatures coming next week. That's your South Jersey weather forecast. I'm Joe Kelly.
You have the choice. Whether it's going out to dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant or buying that new outfit from a local boutique, those choices help to put money back into your community. Town Square Media South Jersey proudly puts a spotlight on local businesses.
Broadlee's, your trusted source for heating and plumbing service and installation for generations. Call 609-390-3907 or visit broadleys.net. Manhattan Bagel. Looking for a quick snack or a full meal? Easy to use menu, customize how you'd like, place your order and sit back. ManhattanBagel.com has you covered. Start fresh, fast, order online for pickup and delivery. And Kindle Auto Plaza, the area's best selection of Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Wagoneer. Off exit 10 on the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard. Call 609-465-5000 or KindleAutoplaza.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media South Jersey.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll check back in on the text board in just a moment at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Because I see a couple texts coming in about the Sirianni stuff and the Eagles. But I did want to say really quick, you know, one of the elements coming into this game on Sunday for the Eagles is I'm curious to see how does Vic Fangio game plan this game and how do the players execute? Because I was on the record on social media and right here on 97.3 ESPN saying that one of the people I blame for the win, I should say, that felt like a loss, the way we're talking about it, was Vic Fangio, because you had a 22-0 lead and you end up only winning the game 28-23. Take away all of the Sirianni going for it on fourth down and going the tush push and not making it. Why did the defense give up 23 points to a team that was down 22-0 with a quarter and a half left? You know, this is an Eagles defense that had a legit lead on Monday Night Football against the Falcons, gave that up. But then in other games, they look really good against Cincinnati Bengals, against Cleveland Browns. By the way, there was a stretch where they didn't let through a touchdown for, 8 quarters in a row at one point? So how am I supposed to reconcile all that and not have some questions about the Eagles defense going to Dallas? I know it's Cooper Rush. I know it's a banged-up offensive line. But as I wrote about in 97.3 ESPN.com, Zach Martin is back. CeeDee Lamb is going to play. They are not 100% shorthanded in this game. So because of that, I can't sit here and condemn them. I got to sit here and be realistic about who the Eagles are. And I have to say, I have some concerns about Vic Fangio's defense, which has not been consistent this year, that has had lapses in judgment themselves. What do they look like this Sunday in Dallas against a team that is fighting for their playoff lives? Something to keep an eye on as well. All right, call text to get to. George at Summers Point starts us off at 609-403-0973. George chimes in and says the whole Sirianni issue is becoming a soap opera as the Nick turns. It's a shame because it's taking away from what has become a very good Eagles season and what has probably been a very good coaching performance by him overall. Because of this, I do not see the national media letting go of this anytime soon, as it seems to continue to hold the public's interest. We just don't know what to expect from him next. That's George in Summers Point. It's funny, George, because you're talking about a guy in Sirianni that is one win away from being one of the best records in his first 60 games coached in NFL history. He'll tie Sean McVay at 41-19. And you're right. You know, is there a part of us that says we don't know what to expect next? Absolutely. And look, if anybody follow the presidential campaigns this year, you know the media loves, no matter what side of the political divide they are, okay, no one's immune to this. Every media outlet loves to latch on to anything a political candidate says, and it becomes fuel for 24 to 48 hour news cycle. It's the same thing with Sirianni. Sirianni has become this polarizing figure that everybody wants to have a say about, wants to talk about, wants to poke at him. And so because of that, you're right, the national media is not going to let it go anytime soon because it's an easy punching bag. It's very easy to go up to Sirianni and basically make fun of him. But overall, you're right. The Eagles are having a good year. Should be 7-1 if Saquon catches that ball, but they're 6-2. And right now, you're talking about an Eagles team that frankly has a chance to put themselves in a position to win the division. If they win this game on Sunday, and then they turn around and deal with Washington next Thursday night, they will already have 3 division wins under their belt. And you could argue as long as they hold serve for the rest of the season, as long as they stay, at least they stay on par, right? They stick the course. They're winning the division. Because if you beat Dallas, okay? And then you beat Washington. What does the math say? The math says that every team in the division has a loss against their division rivals except for the Eagles. So now the Eagles can build a lead. If the Eagles beat Dallas and Washington, it almost doesn't matter if they beat the Rams or Ravens the next 2 weeks because they will already have the cushion ahead of Dallas and Washington because of the division record. And then they get to December when they play Carolina. That should be a win. The Steelers at your place. Tough game, but you should find a way to win that game. So now, if your working theory is, and again, I'm projecting, you beat Dallas, you beat Washington, you beat Carolina, okay? That's 3 wins. Now you're at 9. Let's say you lose the Rams and Ravens games because they're on the road, okay? Well, now you're 9-4 with 4 games left in the season. And unless you lose all 4 of those games, which is very unlikely at this point, you are not going to miss out on winning the division. So that's why these games are important. And that's why we have to talk about the season the Eagles have had and what they need to do moving forward. Get some more of your texts at 609-403-0973. This texter didn't leave their name, so I don't want to give them a fake name. But I'll just say this texter's anonymous, but they texted in and they said, I'm 60 years old. I've been watching football a long time. I just don't remember a coach being as reckless as Nick Sirianni. It's a shame that the Eagles have a really good team, but you're not going to be able to count on the coach making good decisions. Well, texter, a couple reactions to that. First of all, I'm sure that if we sat down and lost about 2-3 hours of our lives and looked through every football coach who has ever made, aggressive decision making over the years, we might be able to find somebody as reckless as Nick Sirianni. I mean, just because you and I can't think of one off the top of our heads doesn't mean there isn't one. I would say, though, I don't think Nick Sirianni is reckless. I think Nick Sirianni had a reckless game this past week. I think Nick Sirianni is aggressive. Players like Lane Johnson and Darius Slay have said they like him being aggressive. I think the organization has an aggressive philosophy. And that maybe Nick Sirianni is just not the best decision maker. And I don't know how much of that is instinct. I don't know how much of that is the people around him. I don't know how much of that is where you want to draw the line there. Because, I was talking to my dad, and he made a comment to me, and he says, can we stop talking about Nick Sirianni? Like, I don't care anymore. And on the other hand, I get people texting the show being like, I can't stand this guy. He's driving me nuts. But I got to talk about him. And I think we all just want to talk about the game. I'm attempting to do that. That's why this other text that came in at 609-403-0973 is much more up my alley. By the way, another anonymous texter didn't leave their name. But the texter said, the Eagles' offense gave up those touchdowns. It wasn't all on the defense against the Jags. Well, we'll have to agree or disagree. Because, number one, if you're referring to the fumble that Trayvon Walker scooped up by the Jags and scored a touchdown, that touchdown does not go against the defense. So I'm taking that touchdown out of the conversation. I'm talking about the other two. If you want to blame the offense for the defense not tackling, not doing a good job at being disciplined in coverage, not getting a proper pass rush on Trevor Lawrence, who had played poorly up to the fourth quarter. If you want to blame the offense for that, more power to you, man. I can't do that. I don't come from a world where I let other people take the blame for if I make a mistake. okay? You know, if I can be late for work, right? And I can sit there and say, I ran in the traffic. There was construction. There was a family of ducks crossing the street. I can sit there and say that, hey, I'm not feeling well, right? I was sick half the morning and I had to get myself together to get to work. Like, you can come up with excuses for why I didn't get to work. But at the end of the day, I was late for work. Now, there might be mitigating circumstances that led me to be late for work. There might have been situations and issues that were out of my control. But once I get to work and my excuse is I was late, here is why, even if it's a valid one, okay? I got stuck behind the presidential motorcade, whatever the excuse is. My boss doesn't care the reason why I was late anymore. What my boss cares about is, well, you're here, let's get the job done. I don't know about you guys, but there has never been a day in my life where I have been allowed to use the excuses for why I might have been late for work as a reason for why I couldn't do my work. And that's where I draw the line with the Eagles defense. Listen, Texter, you can say that the offense put the Eagles defense in a precarious situation, might have put them in a bad, it might have handed them a bad hand, right? But if you're playing poker, if you have a bad hand, it's not a reason for you to push all your chips to the middle of the table and say, well, you gave me a bad hand. No, you still have to make good decisions with what you are given. And for me to sit here and just say, solve the offense. For me to do what this texter is doing at 609-403-0973, I can't work with that, because what you're basically telling me is the Eagles defense deserves no blame, and the offense not doing their job is to blame. I can't work with that. Because what you're saying is that you are vacating responsibility. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. This is my worldview, okay? I'm going to die on this hill. I believe individuals should take responsibility for their own actions. And I can't blame somebody else for me not doing my job. If my job is to rush the quarterback, if my job is to tackle, if my job is to cover some of the most mediocre, subpar receivers on the planet, because that's who the Jags had out there. They were without their best receivers. They had a less than 100% Gabe Davis. They had a less than 100% rookie Brian Thomas Jr. Christian Kirk, broken collarbone, done for the year. Evan Ingram all of a sudden had a good start to the year. Hasn't been effective since the last couple weeks. You're talking about a Jags offense that had scored 0 points for basically the first 40 minutes or 35 minutes of the game. And you want me to blame the Eagles offense for the 2 touchdowns they gave up? That would be like us saying, hey, Nakobe Dean got that interception, but ultimately it was Trevor Lawrence making that throw, and Nakobe Dean wasn't the only one responsible for the interception. No, we give both full credit. We say Trevor Lawrence made a bad throw, Nakobe Dean made a great play. Both things can be simultaneously true. I'm watching the Ravens-Bengals game last night. And you see the way that they talked about Trey Hendrickson during the game. They said this is one of the best pass rushers in football, but Ronnie Stanley's doing a great job at shutting him down. It doesn't mean Trey Hendrickson is a bum. And it doesn't mean Ronnie Stanley is the greatest of all time. It just means in that moment, in that situation, under those set of circumstances, those guys had those specific results. We'll squeeze in one more text at 609-403-0973. Another anonymous text. What is up with you guys in the anonymous text today? I hope some of you are like trying not to nobody know who you are when you're texting in. Like you're getting in trouble at work or something. Like, I don't want that to happen to you guys. Jeez. Another anonymous texter chimes in and says, "Hey Josh, I think you're wrong. Giving up 2 touchdowns in 60 minutes is the Eagles defense doing their job." See, now we're bridging into literal. Okay, we're taking away the fun of this conversation. Okay? Because I feel like this individual who texted that in is probably the same person who thinks it's okay if fill in the blank delivery service delivers them the mail and the item is a little banged up, right? Maybe the box has got some cuts in it. Maybe it was partially opened. Maybe what's inside of it's got some scratches or dents in it now. But they're the person who says, "Hey, I did my job. I delivered the package." Doing your job should never be the goal. If you're the individual who says, "I'm just here to do my job," then what you're saying is that you are not aiming for excellence. You are not trying to be great. You are not putting your best foot every single day. Sorry, put your best foot forward every single day. You are someone who says, "This is good enough," and then walks away. I don't function that way. Now, because I don't function that way, I put in a lot of hours in my job. Because I don't function that way, I demand more of myself and everything and everyone else in my life. The Eagles did their job. They won the game. I'm just saying, and Stephen EHT, thank you for being a man and putting your name on the text. Stephen EHT, it's not that I'm getting all the blame for the defense. What I'm saying is, if you would listen to the train of my thoughts over the last 40 minutes, we started criticizing Nick Sirianni, and then we started talking about the Eagles' offense. And then I turned around and said, my second key to the game is I have questions about how the defense executes against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. No one, Stephen EHD, is saying blame it all on the Eagles defense. Just like I am saying, don't act like Nick Sirianni is the only reason why that game was close. But the problem is, Stephen EHD, we have spent the equivalent of, I'm not great at math off the top of my head, but I'm going to try it anyway. We have spent the equivalent of 124 hours this week on almost every sports show, almost every media platform, Eagles podcasts, Eagles shows, 97.3 ESPN, websites, everywhere, talking about the head coach of this football team. So maybe, just maybe, it's okay if I step back, assess the forest and the trees, and say, why aren't we talking about the fact that the Eagles defense had a shutout going, and then they suddenly allowed 2 touchdowns at the end of the game? Because you know why we don't give the Eagles credit, Stephen EHD, for keeping the Jags scoreless through 3 quarters? because no one wants to give this team credit when they stopped the Packers multiple times in the red zone and held them to field goals in week 1. Nobody wants to give the defense credit when they held the Falcons down up into the 2-minute warning of the Monday night game. Nobody wants to give the Eagles defense credit that they kept the Browns and the Giants touchdownless because they were bad football teams. Nobody wants to give them credit that they put a lock hold on the Bengals offense in the second half when the team outscored them 27-7. The reason why, Stephen EHT, the defense doesn't get credit is because we have gone through an entire season not giving them credit. So let's make a decision right here, right now. Me, Josh Hennig, in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios, and you out there, Stephen EHT. Either we spread the blame around for the Eagles' losses, and we start talking about the positives of this football team, or we're going to keep going in this circle. Just this rotating cycle of walking around the same path and creating a little, dirt pivot in the ground because we keep walking on the same points on top of each other. All right, still to come. The full rundown, the keys to the Eagles game on Sunday. My football picks for the weekend, and more your texts at 609-403-0973. Also your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. I'll get to more of your texts on the other side. I see Jeff from Summers Point. I see Stephen EHT's follow-up. All that and more coming up next. I'm Josh Hennig, live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the Sixers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
He puts it up and in. A three-point opportunity for PG. Great job by George.
It's Sixers Lakers tonight. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. It's Sixers basketball all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia 76ers basketball. 97.3 ESPN.
Hey, Birds fans, it's about that time. Football season is back, and Boardwalk Honda is giving you the chance to score big. Stop in and take advantage of game-changing savings all month long. Shop our lineup of new pre-owned and certified pre-owned Hondas. We have something for everyone, and credit problems are no problem with over 25 financial lenders to get you approved and on the road to victory. Visit us in Egg Harbor Township or online at BoardwalkHonda.com. And remember, from Maine to Miami, nobody beats a Boardwalk deal.
Hey, if you have ugly yellow toe fungus, you got to hear about the secret 2-minute trick that I found for my husband. It works from both the inside and the outside. Thousands of people are using it to get rid of their toe fungus. You can check it out at crystalflesh.com. Jake started off with a small spot on his big toe and then it spread and got really bad. His toes were nasty. It was so embarrassing. He was afraid to take his socks off. He hid his yellow and crumbly toes from everyone. He tried everything to get rid of it. Nothing helped. And then we found crystalflesh.com. It was the only thing that worked. In just a few weeks, his toes looked amazing. He's now walking around barefoot again. You guys need to try this. I'm telling you, this stuff is different. It's not sold in stores, but go check it out at crystalflesh.com. They'll even let you try it risk-free so you have nothing to lose. But whatever you do, don't let it get worse. You don't have to live with this anymore. Go check it out now. Just click over to crystalflesh.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Sounds like wipers. If your wipers are streaking, skipping, chattering, or even worse, loud, you need to visit AutoZone and get some fresh new blades. We've got basic wipers to get you back on the road, as well as premium blades from Bosch and Rain-X. So if you're hearing this, just head to your nearest AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Wendy's breakfast burrito has an entire breakfast in every bite. Fresh cracked eggs,
seasoned potatoes, American cheese, cheese sauce, and sausage or bacon. So the first bite is like fresh cracked American cheese, bacon. And the second bite is like fresh cracked American cheese, bacon. And the third bite, you get the idea. The boss of breakfast burritos, gotta be Wendy's.
Participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Hey, if you have ugly yellow toe fungus, you gotta hear about the secret 2-minute trick that I found for my husband. It works from both the inside and the outside. Thousands of people are using it to get rid of their toe fungus. You can check it out at crystalflush.com. Jake started off with a small spot on his big toe and then it spread and got really bad. His toes were nasty. It was so embarrassing. He was afraid to take his socks off. He hid his yellow and crumbly toes from everyone. He tried everything to get rid of it. Nothing helped. And then we found crystalflush.com. It was the only thing that worked. In just a few weeks, his toes looked amazing. He's now walking around barefoot again. You guys need to try this. I'm telling you, this stuff is different. It's not sold in stores, but go check it out at crystalflush.com. They'll even let you try it risk-free so you have nothing to lose. But whatever you do, don't let it get worse. You don't have to live with this anymore. Go check it out now. Just click over to crystalflush.com.
The holidays are here at the Home Depot. If you're working on getting ready for company,
a lot of company,
make sure you're ready with Black Friday savings. Get up to 40% off select appliances, plus up to an extra $1,000 off select kitchen appliances. Upgrade your kitchen with top brands like GE Profile and get sleek cutting-edge appliances to make sure you
got hosting handled.
Yeah, you do. Get Black Friday savings now with free delivery and financing on select appliances this holiday at the Home Depot. Offer valid November 6th through December 4th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
Tired of hearing no? Everywhere you go, we turn no into go during Black Nissan's November sales event. Say no to high-priced new cars. Brand new Mad Black Nissan Sentra S, just $19,999. Say no to low trade offers. AJ the Trade Man wants your trade, no matter the make, miles, or condition. Say no to down payments. Say no to payments for 90 days. And say no to high interest rates. 60 months, 0% financing by every clearly marked new Nissan. Backed by Mad Black's 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Tired of hearing no to a discount on a new ride? New 25 Sentra S, under 20 grand.
Oh yeah, it's on at Mad Black Nissan.
Approved Tier 1 credit for NEMAC. Negative equity refinance. VIN number SY231649. MSRP 22,730 plus tax tag at $689.98. Offers can't be combined. 0% for 60 months. Call 877-289-6667 or go to MadBlackNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 12/5/24. It's on at Mad Black Nissan. The Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
Tomorrow on ESPN Radio. A critical showdown at night in Death Valley.
It will be Saturday night in Death Valley.
11th ranked Alabama heads to Baton Rouge to face number 14 LSU. To the losers playoff hopes end, number 11 Alabama at 14th ranked LSU. Coverage begins tomorrow at 7 Eastern with kickoff at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
It's College Football Saturday. Coverage begins at 7:30 on 97.3 ESPN.
That's how I get by.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennick on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
All right, let's do this, people. We got texts to get to, we got conversations to have here, and we got picks to make here on 97.3 ESPN. Jeff from Summers Point chimes in. He says, sorry, Josh, I missed part of the segment, but I'm just catching up. People need to stop blaming Nick Sirianni. He says, people can talk, but numbers don't lie. Sirianni is a winner, period. Plus, he's Italian, so he's good at Well, that's definitely a subjective take. Jeff, go have some more Bud Lights for me. All right, and that's what you drink. Steve from EHT followed up on the text board. He says, to me, a defense only giving up 2 touchdowns in 60 minutes is great. That's not just doing their job or the bare minimum. It's only giving up 2 scores is elite stuff in my opinion. He says, I think a defense is good. We will see, though, what they look like in the next few weeks. He also says that the fumble touchdown should have never been counted in the first place. Now, see, Stephen HT, that's something we agree on. The whole Saquon Barkley fumbling the ball, that was not a fumble, okay? anyone with two eyes watching that game saw that was not a fumble. For whatever reason, officiating over the last several days has been some of the worst trash I have ever seen in my life. In the Ohio State-Penn State game, that touchdown by Ohio State where the guy drops the ball before he gets to the end zone and nobody saw it except for us watching on TV, I don't get that. Saquon Barkley, his arm was down. He was down. They still call it a fumble. Why on earth did they give the one touchdown to Oregon when clearly the Oregon receiver dropped the ball in the end zone? They didn't review that. And look at last night. Joe Burrow gets blasted in the face. That's roughing the passer on every single game in the NFL except for last night. So, officiating over the last several days, the fact there's no accountability for these officials is absolutely incredible to me. It's absolutely insane. All right. Keys to the game. Number 1, Kellen Moore. I need Kellen Moore to go in there and put some you-know-what on his former team. You want revenge? Go get that revenge. Go score 35, 40 points, Kellen Moore. If Kellen Moore is creative enough and angry enough, the Eagles will win this in dominant fashion. Number 2, to Stephen EHT, to paraphrase what he was saying, you give up 2 touchdowns, you're elite defense. If the Vic Fangio defense gives up no more than 2 touchdowns on Sunday, I guarantee you they win the game. The third key of the game is going to be, do the Eagles stay balanced in their attack? Do the Eagles keep their foot on the gas pedal? Lane Johnson on the Gun on One show on the Inside the Birds podcast network said this.
You know, we had all these yards, and you look at the score, and the score doesn't indicate the amount of good that we did. But I think the lapse in focus the second half proved to be detrimental to us. And I explained kind of in the locker room after that, the NFL is so, equal in talent level, pretty close, that when you lose judgment or let up on people, that they can quickly come back.
Don't take your foot off the gas pedal, Eagles. Lane just said it there. They did not keep their foot on the gas pedal. They got into cruise control, and they let the Jags catch back up. You got to go pedal to the metal. It's not enough to win this Sunday. You got to go all in and show the Cowboys no mercy. All right. Now is the time that people like Jeff from Ocean City and others care about when they text in at 609-403-0973. It's time for the picks. And speaking of the picks, I like the Eagles on Sunday. The team total is at 25.5. Give me the over. The Eagles are averaging 28 points per game in their last 4 games. And Philadelphia is going against a team that on the season is allowing 28 points per game in the Dallas Cowboys. I like the Eagles to score more than 25 points this Sunday in Dallas. And when you and I are sitting there watching the Eagles play the Cowboys at Doyle's Poorhouse in Tuckerton, and we're chanting "Fly, Eagles, fly," and we're pumping our fists when the Birds score 30 or more points, it's going to be a great Sunday at Doyle's Poorhouse in Tuckerton. By the way, we're giving away prizes at halftime. Did you hear about that? Also, in Germany, I like the Panthers under 60.5 team total. The Giants' defense is better than the Saints' defense at this point. They're not going to be able to score against the Giants the way they did against the Saints last week. I also like Vikings versus Jags. Give me the Jags to cover the 6.5 point spread. Since Doug Peterson took over the play calling responsibilities, the Jags are 3-0 against the spread this year. So I like them covering the 6.5. And of course, before we wrap up the Power Hour here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, it's time for my
Stone Cold Lock of the Century.
college football. Army minus 2.5 at North Texas. Army is 3-0 against the spread on the road this year. Meanwhile, North Texas is 1-2 against the spread in their last 3 games. Army will win by at least 3. at North Texas tomorrow is my
Stone cold lock of the century. Or the week.
I also understand why Navy only has a -3.5 on the road at USF, but you know what? Maybe you put those two together and make a nice little parlay for yourself. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. I'll see you this Sunday.
Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein, producer Nick Earnshaw.
All right, we got this switched over to the YouTube only side of the conversation. So thank all of you who are watching on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Unless you don't want your friends to make any money. Unless your friends to be not as smart as you, then you can keep it all to yourself, but still like and subscribe. All right, so let's get to the full list here. So let's run back some of the picks I already gave out on 97.3 ESPN FM radio. So on the year in the NFL, we are 81-48-1. So having a pretty darn good year in the NFL. So let's review the picks we gave out on the radio. Eagles over 25.5 team total. I think the Birds are going to score at least their average, which is 28 points in the last 4 games. I like the Panthers in London versus the Giants under 16.5. I think they score no more than 2 touchdowns in that game in Germany. And don't forget, neutral site and the Giants are a better defense than the Saints right now. I mentioned also, speaking of international, ever since Doug Peterson took over play calling responsibilities in their last London game, the Jags are 3-0 against the spread. They have covered the spread in every game. So give me the Jags at home. Remember, the Vikings are not in Minnesota. They are in Jacksonville this Sunday. So give me the +6.5 for the Jags at home against those Minnesota Vikings. All right. The picks that didn't make it on the radio. Let's do this. Broncos team total under 16.5. The Chiefs are one of the best defenses in all of football. You're telling me that if you are being honest, when you look at the Chiefs and you look at that game this upcoming Sunday, and you realize the Chiefs are one of the best scoring defenses in all of football, and they are at home against the Broncos, and it's a 1 p.m. Eastern time kickoff, which means it's actually 12 o'clock in Kansas City, which is still early for the Broncos, who are technically an hour behind at that point. A lot going against Denver in this game. 16.5 feels like a generous number to me. Give me the under 16.5 for a high-level Kansas City defense. And I understand some of you out there are saying, well, the Raiders and the Bucs scored 20 more points against them. Why can't Denver? I'll tell you why Denver can't. Because, one, that Raiders game was in Las Vegas, not a home game for Kansas City. And number 2, Baker Mayfield is 10 times better than Bo Nix. Maybe Bo Nix will get there someday, but he ain't there right now. Also, Travis Kelce anytime touchdown +140 is the number I have in front of me. Travis Kelce has finally found his groove in this offense again. And I think the attention being given right now to DeAndre Hopkins is amplified.
NFL running back Rashad Shen.
Sorry about that. I think that the fact that he has been able to live off of, right? Kind of like say, hey, you can take your attention over there. I'm just going to sit over here and just keep doing my thing. I think it's helped him. I think having DeAndre Hopkins out there being a guy to take defensive attention away from him has elevated him. And I think the Broncos are weaker at the linebacker position than they are at the cornerback position. So I like Travis Kelce anytime touchdown +140. I also like Titans team total under 14.5. If you are someone who likes to get creative with your parlays, again, if you're going to gamble, please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. If you have one of those sports books that allows you to parlay the Titans team total, or get an alternate number, and combined it with the game total for Chargers and Titans, which the last time I saw was 40.5. Well, you know what we like to say around here?
Come on, let's get nuts.
I mean, think about that. If you can find a way, if you got, again, certain sports books don't do this, but you could an alternate number, right? Maybe like 50.5 for the Titans or 60.5 or even 14.5 is fine. And you combine it with maybe a larger game total, maybe like a 42.5 kind of number. Put them together, it might get some good value out of that. That's your.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
So there's that going for you right there. NFL picks. That's all the NFL picks right now I got for this week. Again, I love the Chargers defense in this game. I think the Chargers defense is very underrated. They are a team that's shown you again and again and again and again that they are a top tier defense in the NFL. All right. Couple more picks for you. College football, we are 76-45. So still having a good year in the college game, but I definitely am a little frustrated at times this year. If I'm being completely honest, I feel like college football has become a little less predictable for me. Now, yes, I'm still hitting in the 60 percentile, so I'm still doing pretty good with the picks. But I will admit, I think that the parity in college football is definitely impacting my ability to make picks. I think that I would be much better if there was much more stability and continuity with some of these teams. It is very obvious to me that some of these teams, how else do I say this? Some of these teams in college football have zero stability, zero continuity. So what you're seeing from one week is different than the next. I think it's part of the reason why you have a school like South Carolina that goes to Kentucky, crushes them, goes to Alabama, makes that a close game, but then in the LSU game, struggles to keep it close. I think that's part of the reason why for these inconsistencies. So, but we will get to the picks. I gave it out on the radio. I like Navy to cover the 3.5 at USF. I think that University of South Florida is not a good football team this year. They're very mediocre at best. Navy, after that loss to Notre Dame, they are on a mission. They want to make sure they're in a position to not just win out, not to get the Commander-in-Chief trophy from Army, but they want to go out there and make sure they send a statement. The Navy game is not an indictment of their season. Also, I told you guys my
Stone cold lock of the century. On the week.
I mean, I don't understand. I have looked up every bit of information, every factoid. I mean, the only thing I can think of is the fact that Army's quarterback is not playing this week, their starting quarterback. But he didn't play last week either, and they won big there too. I mean, sometimes I think the odds makers don't even know what they're putting out there. I think some of these guys are how do I say this nicely? They are so beholden. That's a good word to use. They are beholden to the numbers. They basically tie themselves so tightly wound to these stats and these numbers and these figures that they don't see the big picture. The big picture is there's a reason why Army is having the season they are, and it's not just because of the quarterback. It's also because of their defense. So, Army to cover the 2.5 on the road at North Texas. Army is 3-0 this year against the spread on the road. That's my
Stone cold lock of the century. On the week.
I got more Football Friday picks here on 97.3 ESPN. I like Colorado on the road, coming off of a bye week, -4.5 at Texas Tech. Remember, coming off of a bye week. That means Travis Hunter, who has been banged up most of this year. That means a Colorado team that has worked through a bunch of injuries this year. They now had an entire week plus to hit the physical reset button, recalibrate, get ready for the second half of the season. They are in a position to compete to win the Big 12 Conference Championship. And it starts at Texas Tech tomorrow. I like them to cover the 4.5. I don't think it is crazy to think that Colorado can win this game by at least a touchdown. I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's wild to say that Colorado can go to Texas Tech, a team in Texas Tech that is solid but not great, versus the Colorado team that is rested and well prepared for this game tomorrow. For Colorado to win the game 28-21, 30-23, 35-28. I had to do the math there real quick. You get my drift. I think Colorado, there's a reason why they have 2 Heisman Trophy candidates on the team. Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback, and Travis Hunter, the two-way phenom. All right, let's finish it out with 2 more picks here in college football. South Carolina at Vanderbilt, under 45.5. These are 2 scrappy, grindy, physical, they like to muck it up kind of teams. They are hardworking, blue-collar football programs. This is one of those rock fights that us old college football people love, the chess match. It's your move. It's your opportunity. It's your change of direction. So give me under 45.5. I do not think this will be a high-scoring game. South Carolina and Vanderbilt, 2 teams that have very underrated defenses. And finally,
let's get it. Another one. Another one. Another one.
I don't understand why this game is as high of a number that it is, but BYU and Utah is one of the most intense college football rivalries. It is called the Holy War for a reason. If you've ever watched this game, you will realize that the intensity of this game, the pride that goes into this game, it is next level. I don't care that BYU is undefeated. I don't care the game is at Utah. I don't care who the coaches are. I know the competitive nature of this game. Then if you factor in BYU is fighting to stay undefeated, Utah wants to ruin their season. Utah is a defensive-minded coach. BYU has a head coach that likes to be physical in the trenches. 40.5, a little bit too juicy. But if you
Let's get nuts.
You want to get nuts, why don't you go really nuts and tease the under of South Carolina Vanderbilt with BYU Utah, depending on what book you use. I was checking this earlier. If you take the South Carolina Vanderbilt game under and the BYU Utah under, you tease them both up. 48.5 for South Carolina Vanderbilt, 43.5 for BYU Utah. The last time I checked, it was still a plus 200 value. So,
Come on, let's get nuts.
I think that this is going to be a fun matchup to put together. Again, if you like rock fights, if you don't like crazy high-scoring games, I don't think either one of these will be very high-scoring games. And there's a way to get some value out of it. So, all right, those are my picks for Football Friday. I got to get back to my other work here at 97.3 ESPN. But thank all of you for watching on my YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends, or just tell people about it and hope they don't take any information from it so you're smarter than them. Whatever you want to do, thank you for watching. Have a great night, everybody. Don't forget, so this Sunday, so just a little clarification. So I have a full day on the road with the 97.3 truck. Sunday morning, I will be with Billy Schweim in the locker room, Atlas Scala's Beach House of Brigantine. We'll be doing the show from 10 a.m. to noon for our Eagles pregame show. Then I'm jumping back in the 97.3 truck, heading up north to Tuckerton, to Doyle's Poorhouse. We will be there for the Eagles watch party. Remember, Eagles kickoff is after 4 p.m. this Sunday. So our Eagles halftime giveaway will be probably somewhere in the 5 o'clock hour. I'm assuming that we're going to get to halftime somewhere between like 5:45 and 6 p.m. on Sunday. So long day for me, but beneficial day for you because I'll be on your radio. You can meet me in person. You can win some prizes. Again, the prizes include this special Eagles football. It commemorates the 2022 Eagles season. We also are giving away VIP passes for the Disney on Ice show at Atlantic City's Boardwalk Hall. I also have tickets to next Saturday's boxing event at Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City. I'll have tickets to give away for that. I will also have lottery tickets. I got all kinds of stuff I'm giving away. So if you want to win some prizes, you want to come out and watch the Eagles game, come out and be a part of the show. Not the show, but just be a part of what we're doing here at 97.3 ESPN. All right. Thank you to everybody who tuned in again. I know sometimes people like my father, you do get fatigued hearing the same topics over and over again, but I think it's part of the job here that you try to balance between trying to put out some, just to pull the curtain back. There's the daily task where you sit there and plan all these topics, and the old saying is, for every hour you're on the radio, you spend another hour planning. So it's almost like you're actually planning. If you do an hour show, you're planning for a 2-hour show. If you do a 4-hour show, you're planning to be on the radio for 6 to 8 hours. So there's many times that we walk into these shows, whether it's 97.3 ESPN FM or whatever program that I'm doing, whatever I'm involved in, you end up doing more, you end up planning for more than you actually do. And at the end of the day, there's so much with the Eagles that I only have so much time to get to. And, if someone is willing to take the time to text into the show, to join the conversation, I'm going to give them some time. I'm going to give them some recognition. I'm going to give them some of my own, hey, acknowledgement. Thank you for texting. We're going to have this dialogue. So, but again, I appreciate everyone's patience with all that. Thanks again, everybody, for watching on my YouTube channel. Remember, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I will catch up with you, if not sooner, Monday at 6 p.m. I missed it on 97.3 ESPN.